All right. Well, we're going to kind of get this going. This is not super formal. We are actually at ENR FutureTech right
Yep.
now. And I'm here with Steve Jones from Dodge. Man, I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, but you're a hard guy to get a hold of. So I took this opportunity to make sure that, you and I had at least a little bit of chance to sit down and just chat.
Good deal.
Yeah. Because you see things from a way that I want to see things, which is see things from a kind of a data standpoint. I've always been proponent of, since I started this podcast, people have seen my posts. They've seen all these things that I put out there about, your data governance. You got to get your data in order. You can't tell me the correct story unless you've got your data in order.
Hmm.
Right. And I'm now sitting with, the guy.
That's what we do.
It's what you do.
We bring order to data. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe in the quantification of things, because as you know, this is such a highly fragmented industry. Oftentimes the key decision-making drivers are anecdotal. You hear 2 or 3 pieces of information, therefore you extrapolate across the whole industry. So that must be the truth. And it's usually somewhat the truth, but you can burn yourself an awful lot of ways by working on somewhat the truth, right? And so
Well, it's like,
basically,
I'm going to just measure the wind, right?
in some cases, and you can never disrespect your instincts, right? Because those can be valuable, but acting without complete picture of information. And so we, Dodge has access to everybody who's working on every project is in our system all the time. So we know who the players are out there. So we built a panel 15 years ago now with 7,000 design and construction professionals who we know they're real, right? They're legit, and we know what they're working on, and and we get them to opt in, and that's our survey research panel. And so we go out to them and take their pulse on all kinds of things all the time,
Okay.
because again, it's like what one person says and this person says, and this is not necessarily really representative. And it's useful to know what is truly representative of the entire industry, especially if you're going to invest or if you're going to make some kind of change, or if you're going to move in some direction. It's useful to know that there's some facts.
Right. Well, that's the one thing that I always run into when I start to talk to people. I was like, well, is this kind of distilled information, and where is it distilled from? Like, I like whiskey. You know what I mean? So if I'm drinking whiskey, I want to know like where it came from. I
Right, or if
want to
you're
know.
drinking a bottle of wine, yeah, is this grown in your backyard, dude?
That's
Or
right.
is this actually from the Loire Valley?
So that's exactly what I'm talking about when I start talking about data. It's like, okay, I hear what you're saying, right? It's kind of like reading those articles. We were just talking about this, reading some of those articles that are sponsored articles, right?
Well, I know.
You got to have it. It's
Yeah.
a part
I
of
mean,
it's part of the
the work that
process.
we do
Yeah.
is underwritten, right,
Yes.
by people who pay us to do that. But the reason they come to us is because it's published as Dodge.
There you go.
I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I'm just trying to share with you what all your peers are doing.
Right.
You know what's fascinating, and it reflects how fragmented we are, is when we'll do a deep dive into something, like we're about to put one out about change management. Okay, like what are the best practices for that? How do you optimize that? The problem is that contractors don't all get together at happy hour at the end of the day and swap stories,
That's
right?
right.
No, everybody thinks they're the only ones out there who are struggling with this. I'm just dumb at this. We've never been able to do it, or
Right.
Eddie's an idiot, or whatever. No, every Eddie's an idiot. This is really hard stuff to do. So the first thing that's really refreshing for people when they read the report is to say, oh my God, I'm not alone. I'm part of a big tribe of people who look like me, who are all messing with this stuff. Then, all right, what are they doing about it? What is everybody else doing about it, right? And it goes from, well, we're using multicolored Post-it notes on our whiteboard, all the way up to, no, we're using a really serious piece of software that was built to do this and does it really well, and then everything in between. And then we ask them, how's that working for you? And it's always so revealing, because almost all the time, the guys with the sticky notes, it's pretty much the same.
Right.
And then it gets better and better and better as you go up. And again, what's nice for the software company who's having us do that is they no longer have to go out and try and convince you one-on-one, hey, I'm better, my way. This is 200 people who look a lot like you. Not all of them are doing it, but the ones who are, or the ones who are doing stuff close to kind of like what you could do with my stuff, they're doing really well.
Yeah. So you're having software like contact founders, folks coming to you guys and going, hey, I'm trying to develop this thing. Give me some real data. Give me
Yeah.
something I can sink
Yeah.
my teeth
I
into.
mean, a lot of them are Dodge customers anyway. They're
Mhm.
using our data to see, all right, I want to know who's building all the schools, right?
Right.
And the manufacturers come to us for the same thing, right? That's why they like our data, right? I got to sell into this group. Who are the key people I should be knocking on the doors of? And tech companies, same way. They want to know who the players are they should be messing with. And so this is kind of an adjunct to that to actually get that voice of the customer and find out what they're wrestling with.
And they're getting it from the real
And
source.
we're actually getting it from the folks out there in the front lines,
Right.
right? Who are dealing with this stuff every day. And we help manufacturers understand where their product fits and what more it needs to be and what other ones are strong. And we do the same thing now with tech companies. Where do I fit in this? What are the real needs I should be addressing? Where are people struggling? I get a call a week from somebody who's just gotten some money and they've got this shiny thing and
Yeah,
it's
man,
going to
yeah.
reinvent
Yeah,
construction.
the disruptors.
It
Yeah.
doesn't need to be reinvented, right? It just
Yeah.
needs to be improved in a little bit in 1,000 ways. And I stop them and I say, how does this help a superintendent on a Wednesday morning at 9:15?
Yeah.
No, well, you don't understand, man. This guy, no, shut up. You don't understand. Okay. When you can give me the answer to that, then you actually have something. Otherwise, you got tech searching for a solution someplace,
All right.
you know? And that's,
So that does lead us into that idea of kind of what where you've been kind
yeah,
of starting
yeah.
out with is it's it may not be the tech. Sometimes it may be the tech,
It's,
and it may not be construction. What does the data say, especially
yeah,
now in kind of I call this the age of AI, right?
yeah.
It's
Okay.
dawning upon us. We're just touching our toes into the
Yes, we
water.
are.
What's the data say about where we're going with that?
What the data shows is that there's, between that kind of contractual behavioral side and the technology side, that there's enough blame to go around. There's
Yeah.
a lot of tech being thrown at people, which doesn't align terribly well to their real needs. But on the other hand, traditional, especially, and we're still in a world where it's mostly design, bid, build contracting. You get a lot of people in there who got there because they're the low bid and their main job is to protect their contract.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lift a finger. I'm one trade contractor. I'm going to lift a finger to help another guy because it doesn't help me. Right.
Yes.
And so how do you drive that collaboration? Even though all the tech in the world could support it, this is a people business at the end of the day. It's a
Yeah.
people business, right? And so if I don't want to help you, I'm not necessarily gonna help you, right? So if you're working in a lean, okay, or if you're working on an IPD project or some kind of integrated form of agreement, okay, that stuff is either more cultural or legislated even, right?
Right.
And so that helps to drive it. Uh, but sometimes a piece of technology can really help to fill that void because it clearly helps multiple parties at once. We did a study last year for the folks at Dusty Robotics,
Okay.
and that looked at the traditionally kind of antagonistic relationship between all trades and the GCs to begin with, and then between trades, right? And we looked a lot about how do you resolve conflicts as they occur. And then to what degree would a
Yeah.
single multi-trade layout help you? And then we had the classic thing of the folks who are doing the multi-trade layout versus the ones who are still having everybody's snap lines on top of everybody else's and scuff them out. All the stuff that happens, how's that
Yeah.
working for you? Well, this is still the same old, all the way up to the folks using the Dusty automated layout. And it
Right.
was like, I can just talk to the other guys and we can just work this stuff out. We don't even have to take it to dad, right? In the trailer and get dad to fix it for us.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
bother with that anymore.
Yeah.
Frankly, it's more pain in the ass than it's worth. We would much rather just work with ourselves. So that tech then really became a driver of true
Right.
collaboration with a purpose, not just collaboration because we're told to.
I love that too, because also takes that part kind of out of that scope of work kind of area, right? Like who was supposed to do this? Well, you said it was here. I have just a classic.
Hmm.
I was working on a very large restaurant build in a
Hmm.
very large building, right? So it was kind of bottom two floors, and we had GPR, the
Hmm.
concrete. We'd done all the things that we were supposed to do as
Hmm.
as the GC. We had it laid out and had it marked. Sure enough, I walk in one morning. but somebody cored through the wrong space,
Oh,
cut the electrical that was in, and and I'm just like,
that's a serious problem.
oh, I mean, people don't understand. So I have these conversations all the time. People do not understand. It's like, not only did I have a task list of, this amount, but then it's all the horseshit that
Yeah.
comes up in the middle of the day, like
Yeah.
this random panic
Right.
situation where you're like, oh my
Right.
goodness, what do I do?
Another grease fire.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't see technology. We used a lot of it, right?
Mhm.
We used the GPR technology. We
Mhm.
did all the things we needed to do. But there was nothing going to say the bad guy's going to make a really, really dumb decision
Yeah.
because he wasn't there during the layout, or maybe he didn't know how to read it, those kind of things. So, but again, it becomes this, when he says there's 1,000 different,
Things that
yeah,
need to be a little bit better.
yeah, I
That's
think
the
it might be
game, right?
10,000, right?
It could be 10,000. It's the Japanese thing of Kaizen, rapidly inching up.
Yes.
There's no big magic silver bullet. And I'm sorry to you room full of exhibitors upstairs here, where every one of your apps is going to solve everything for everybody.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing that you should be promoting,
Well,
because you will only set yourself up for
and I
failure.
would tell that to construction people too. Okay.
Mhm.
This goes into the whole idea of, hey, I need to go buy this software. I was just at Groundbreak
Okay.
back in
Sure,
December,
sure.
was it December or something? And so I'm looking around, I'm watching 10,000 people kind of walk around
Right.
wondering where to start with their, they've got a tech stack, but where do I start this week? Because this next one's going to do the thing,
Right.
right?
It's the silver
This,
bullet I've been waiting for.
this next one's going to do the thing that I've been looking for it to do forever. And there is no silver bullet on any side
Absolutely
of the
not.
equation.
It can only help you if you already know where you're going.
The what?
It isn't GPS to tell you where you ought to go. It's just GPS to tell you, you tell me where you want it, where you need to go. I'll help you get there the most efficient way. That's the way to think about technology. And this is, to your point about AI, what I'm a little afraid of. People have this, to use an old Greenspanism, the irrational exuberance about how great AI is going to be at fixing everything. And again, it's going to be amazing, no doubt. But no, it's not a bloody silver bullet. It has to be extremely hyper focused on exact workflows that have exact friction. Right?
Is
Put
that
it
what the
where the
data
friction
saying?
is.
Is that what the data is?
We did a really, and I'll be presenting these findings tomorrow in my Dodge perspective. But we did a really interesting study about AI. And since I know who's already got it embedded in their existing tools, right? Upstairs is a room full of folks who've actually put it in good places. We took 13 project management activities and 11 company management activities that I know are all in commonly used softwares. And we asked several hundred contractors, are you aware that this is available? This AI enabled functionality is available to you easily.
Yeah.
And it didn't pass 50% for any of them.
Right.
And then among those who did say they're aware, are you using it yet? Now, on the company side, it was actually fairly robust, especially around business development stuff. Evaluate this proposal for
Sure.
me, that. But then it got thin. But on the project management side, very thin.
Mhm.
But when we asked those people who are using it, to what degree is it better than what you've been doing?
Yeah.
God,
Night and day.
dang,
Yeah, night and
yeah.
day.
Oh, it was fabulous. It was like,
Right.
yeah, very confirming that, yeah, this is the stuff.
Well, and I would agree on that because I do think, right, I use AI every day. Thanks.
Sure,
I use it every day,
sure.
and I use all different platforms. You know what I mean? I use one to test the other one's knowledge,
I
and
use them with each other. I know which ones do what and where to start,
yeah,
and then get the next guy to help me do what that guy just did and
yeah.
help make it better. Yeah,
I try to challenge them all equally just
there
to
you
see
go.
how well rounded they are.
There you go.
And I do, there's definitely differences. It's almost like these different trained models have like little different personalities. It is weird. It's a little bit
Mhm,
freaky sometimes, but
mhm.
it's a little weird. And so when I think about that and I think about what these can do again as they grow inside of an
Yes,
enterprise,
yes.
right? It will be developed for that enterprise.
Mhm.
And I think that's interesting, just like you would do with any employee or anything that you would do. They're they're going to fit by the way that you train them. They're going to expand by the way that you communicate with them.
Yes.
And so I've always been a big proponent of, and this is something that maybe construction people have always felt a little short-sighted on was training.
This is an interesting thing. I'll be presenting a study that we did tomorrow, where, for the lack of a better term, we just ended up calling it expertise. But when we tried to ask again, we did almost 1,000 contractors for this one.
Mhm.
All right, to talk about how it is that they're deploying project management technology. What are you actually doing? All right, how are you putting it to work, and what sorts of things are you using it for? Right. And then internally, we tried to find out, all right, essentially how embedded is it for you, right? Are you
Right.
really doing the training? Are you keeping it current? Are you developing workflows or changing the old workflows that you had such that this thing can actually help you, as opposed to expecting it's just going to somehow magically work with your 1945 vintage workflows, that
Yeah,
you're
your
doing.
legacy software
Yeah,
from
yeah, and all the other stuff. And are you actually integrating it with things you're going to be keeping, right?
Mhm.
And your financial side or whatever. What are you doing to actually embed this? And we ended up, for the lack of a better term, calling it expertise, right? To what degree are you
Yeah,
expert on it?
right.
And we low, medium, and high. And then we said, to what degree is it providing this set of benefits for you? And oh my God, the people who were in the shallow end of that expertise pool, it was like, well, it's okay. And then in the middle of the pool, it's like, yeah, it's pretty good. And the people in the deep end of the pool who are really doing all the right behavioral stuff
Right.
internally, right, to actually embed this and become a digital construction company.
Yeah.
Well, of course, it's working great
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're seeing it in their margin. They're seeing it in the bottom line.
Well, they're just seeing
And
it
they're seeing it
in
in the
less of those grease fires.
right.
Yeah, less of the guy pouring through in the middle,
That
just
was
less dumb
that was not a
stuff.
shining moment. That was not a shining moment in my
Stop,
career.
but there's 1,000 of them every day.
I know it.
Unfortunately, it's not rare,
I
you know,
know.
but yeah, this core functionality of getting the project built with project management software, right? And it can be fantastic, but not just because you bought it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where construction needs to take some responsibility.
Yes.
They got to really start to
Yes.
not only train themselves, educate themselves about the products that they're trying to do, work with, but also educate their people about the product. I just talked with Alan Espinoza.
Oh,
This
what a
is
great guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we had a fantastic conversation as well. And he's another like he and I champion the same ideas about
Mhm.
integration.
Yes.
I used to be on the kind of the solutions side of a technology company,
Okay.
and I was like, the biggest problem you guys have, and I would tell this to them. I'd be like, biggest problem is really not me, and it's not the tech. It's that you guys don't do things this way, and you've put Carla or whoever it is in charge of it. And Carla can't handle this load, but because she's got 13 other things to do.
Yep.
And she's wearing a bunch of hats.
Yeah.
And then, the executive who's, approved the purchase is like, I handed it off to Carla. She should handle it.
We're paying for it.
And I say it doesn't happen with a lot of large companies, but these mid-sized companies, I will say that that's the backbone of the
Yes.
American
It is. Of
construction
course, it's
world.
the big fat middle of the market, right? That's who's building everything.
Yeah. And so, hey, you guys got to understand that I think there's just two things. There's the training part that you got to get right. And if you're thinking about AI, guess what? There's more training that you're really going to have to get right.
Yeah. I've been doing this research into tech now for a little over 20 years, and it's been an interesting pattern from when the first demand was coming from the bottom up in organizations, because these people's peers were using BIM or whatever and making some headway, and they would have to gripe at the CEO level,
Mhm.
right, to invest in this stuff. And those guys were like, wait a minute, I've been building buildings for a long time.
Yeah.
What is this? And that could be regional as well. I started doing this future tech back when my company owned ENR, and I went to them 16 years ago and said, we should do something about the future tech. We'll call it future tech because there's always stuff to talk about in the future. And at that one, we launched it the first year. We did one in New York, where we were headquartered, and one in San Francisco. In San Francisco, people were like, this is great. We
Right.
love this. More. And we did it the same thing with the same speakers in New York. And they go, yeah, I'll get you some BIM. Yeah, come here. Here was some BIM. Yeah, come here. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then we just kept it here from
Right.
that point on. So regionally, there's a lot of differences in America in terms of their appetite and their readiness.
Because even though you're talking about even though we're talking about technology, right? We're still talking about humans.
It's people.
Yeah,
it's a people business.
It is a people business just as much as construction is a people business, as much as anything. I think is, man, it goes by fast when we're sitting here talking. I definitely want to have you back on the podcast.
I'd love to.
sometime
I'd love
soon.
to.
Get a full. I call it the Texas Drive Time podcast. 45 minutes, 50 minutes. We really kind of get into some stuff.
And there's some stuff to get into. Man.
There is tons to get into, and man, I'm telling you, I might want to schedule out for a bunch of them.
Well, go ahead, because I have a really unique position of 20 years in the field, architecture, engineering.
Yeah.
4 years at Primavera as an executive, all over the world.
Yeah.
And ain't nobody building anything worth building that they didn't use in Primavera.
That's right.
Right.
You've heard all the pain points.
Yeah. Now I've been doing this for 20 years. Where all I'm trying to do, since I've lived a lot of this stuff and I've got the scars to show you, I'm just trying to say, I think it can be better. Let me help you. Let me build a case for you built on what your peers are doing, not built on what one vendor's preaching at you, right?
Yeah.
And so this is what we're doing all day long for everybody, trying to help. Just understand, find yourself in this spectrum of maturity around whatever it is, and then see what the guys just ahead of you are doing and what they're not doing, right? So you don't go waste your time on that. Just try and build a roadway that other people can follow and get everybody moving faster in ways, because it's a very peer influenced industry. My favorite thing to say about innovation in this industry is everybody wants to be first, be third. You try it, totally bollocks it, get Carla involved, get her to figure out what you did wrong. Call me, baby, I'm in. But I don't want to be the one of you two.
Yeah. I don't want to be 1 and 2. I want to be 3.
But I want to be the fastest 3. I don't want to be 4. No.
That's right. Yeah. You don't want to be behind that guy.
It's good stuff.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And until next time, folks, we're going to get him back on the program. I promise you that. We'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye-bye.